Venerable P. Somaratna, head of the Thames Buddhist Vihara. General D. Piyadasi, head of the Sri Sadatissa Buddhist Centre, Kingsbury. Ajahn Amaro, head of the Amaravati Buddhist Monastery. Venerable Chu Ru, head of the Fort Wang Shan Monastery. Director of the Community of Reconciliation and Fellowship. Dr. Desmond Biddulph, Chair of the Buddhist Society. Jamie Cresswell, Chair of the Network of Buddhist Organizations. And we also have here the Acting High Commissioner for Sri Lanka. Chairman of our committee for today's event is Venerable Sila Wimala, head of the London Buddhist Vihara, Sri Lankan Primate of Great Britain. And he will now come up and give you a welcome and will then lead us in the taking of the refugees. Venerable Sila Wimala.
Members of the Mahasangha, Lady Mayors, dignitaries from other faiths, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests and friends in the Dhamma. It is my great pleasure to welcome you all to this very special event. We are all exceedingly fortunate to be gathered here today to celebrate the 2600th anniversary of the Buddha's awakening. Prince Siddhartha left the life of great royal luxury at Kapilavastu and set out on an extraordinary journey to find an answer to the cessation of all human suffering. By his utmost personal dedication, ceaseless effort, and intuitive understanding, he attained supreme enlightenment at Bodh Gaya. Out of great compassion, he went on to share his experience with the 5 ascetic monks at Saranath. By teaching the 4 noble truths and the middle way, by this simple and selfless act, he set in motion the great wheel of Dhamma, in which 2,600 years later, some 500 million people take refuge. Our celebration today is important for 2 reasons. Firstly, it marks a seminal event in the history of humanity. The Buddha's awakening has had an immense impact on the lives of millions of people, both at that time and in the 26 centuries which have followed. Its influence has been hugely beneficial, enabling countless numbers of people to live happier lives and eventually to overcome the suffering of endless cycle of existence. But what do we actually mean by enlightenment? It has been described in many ways, and I can mention only a few. It is the complete and permanent eradication from the mind of all negative qualities, particularly of greed, hatred, and ignorance. It is the highest happiness or bliss, and it is the supreme goal to which all Buddhists aspire. Today's celebration is important for a second reason. We welcome here today followers from many different schools of Buddhism active in the UK. Although we know about each other's existence and we embrace all these communities with our thoughts of loving kindness, it is not often that we get an opportunity to meet together. Buddhism is spread so widely across the world that it is inevitable that diversity will have developed. However, we remain united around the core teachings, the Four Noble Truths, the Noble Eightfold Path, the doctrine of karma, and dependent origination. So this is a special opportunity for us to meet our Buddhist friends from many different traditions. Such is the inclusive nature of Buddhism that we are able to meet in harmony, rejoicing in our common understanding and respecting the minor differences between us. On the subject of such a gathering of diverse group, I should also like to say a special word of welcome to our friends from other faiths. The importance of interfaith cooperation and understanding is already accepted. What makes this occasion so special is that people from other faiths have made the effort to be with us in our celebration. We are indeed grateful to you, and we are truly pleased to see you. There is just one part of the Dhamma which I should like to mention because it can make such a vital contribution to peace and harmony in the 21st century. I want to look briefly at the 4 Brahma Viharas. The Buddha said that if we can develop 4 heavenly qualities, then we can establish peace within our minds and peace with everyone we meet. The first of these 4 qualities is loving kindness. This is the unselfish generation of kindness and goodwill to all sentient beings, without exception and without limitation. The second is compassion, which is the commitment to do whatever we can do, alleviate the suffering of all. The third is sympathetic joy, a joy at the success of others. Lastly, there is equanimity. It is this vital quality that enables us to fully comprehend the true nature of our existence. These 4 qualities are something which we can all cultivate in daily life. If we all develop these 4 Brahma Viharas, we shall certainly be better able to live in peace and harmony. Let me finish by saying that I extend my warmest greetings to everyone here. I am very pleased to see so many people here coming from so many different backgrounds. This afternoon, we have specially prepared a program of events which I hope will give you a flavor of the diversity of the many different Buddhist cultures. On your behalf, I would particularly like to extend a very warm welcome to Professor Ananda Guruge, who has flown in specially from Los Angeles this weekend to give us what I know will prove to be a particularly thought-provoking keynote speech during this afternoon's proceedings. Let us show our profound gratitude to the Buddha, his teachings, and to the many thousands of members of the Sangha who have passed on these insights from generation to generation. Thank you.
Buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi Dhammaṃ saranang gacchāmi Sanghaṃ saranang gacchāmi Dutiyampi Buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi Dutiyampi Dhammaṃ saranang gacchāmi Dutiyampi Sanghaṃ saranang gacchāmi Tatiyampi Buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi Tatiyampi Dhammaṃ saranang gacchāmi Tatiyampi Sanghaṃ saranang gacchāmi Pānātipātā veramani sikkhapaдаṃ samādhiyāmi Adinādānā veramani sikkhapaдаṃ samādhiyāmi Kāmesu micchācārā veramani sikkhapadaṃ samādhiyāmi Musāvādā veramani sikkhapadaṃ samādhiyāmi Surāmeraya majjapamā datthānā veramani sikkhapadaṃ samādhiyāmi May you all be well and happy.
Now we are here, as we know perfectly well, to celebrate 2,600 years of the teaching of the Buddha. And we have 4 diverse speakers from various stations of life and from various countries. And it's our pleasure to invite, first of all, Ajahn Amaro from Amaravati Buddhist Monastery to talk just about celebrating Buddhism. While he is coming up, I will tell you a little about him, so if he's quick and modest. He was ordained in Thailand in 1979 and came with Venerable Sumedho to help set up that particular tradition in England. He served at Chithurst and at Harnham Vihara, and he then went to California to be co-abbot there, and then he was summoned back last year to take the big one, Amaravati Monastery. And the other thing that I should like to mention, 2 things. First of all, he is an author. He wrote Tudong, Long Road North in 1984, which was about his journey walking up from Chithurst in the south of England up to Harnham in Northumberland in a traditional Buddhist practice. Maybe he'll tell us a little bit about that. And the other thing is that we don't have very many Buddhist dynasties, but Venerable Amaro is from one of them. He is a distant cousin of I.B. Horner of the Pali Text Society. So we have we have here a link with the earliest tradition of Buddhist scholarship and of Buddhism in England. Ladies and gentlemen, Venerable Amaro.
Well, I'm extremely happy and honored to be here today and to be invited to speak to all of you. Also, I was very touched that you mentioned my sainted aunt. Her father, I.B. Horner's father and my grandfather were brothers. So it's also a strange quirk of circumstances that I was already a monk before I even knew she existed. So it was when I came back to England, my father said, "You know, you must take after my cousin Bobby. I think she wrote a book about Buddhism." So my jaw dropped and I said, "Was she I.B. Horner?" He said, "That's right." So with that as a preface, the theme for this short talk is that of celebrating Buddhism. And one of the things that came to mind was actually, rather than the time of the Buddha's enlightenment, was the parinibbana. And as the Buddha was approaching his final breath and lying down beneath the twin sala trees in Kusinara, his time of passing away was approaching. And as it said in the stories, all kinds of miraculous events were occurring. The sound of celestial musicians could be heard in the air. The trees had burst forth into bloom out of season. There were celestial mandarava blossoms raining down from the sky. And so his faithful disciple and attendant, Venerable Ananda, said, "This is amazing, this is incredible. Never has the Buddha been so honored, never has the teaching been so revered and respected as in this glorious way." And the Buddha said, "Well, do you know how it will be best to revere and honor the teaching and the Tathagata, to honor me as the teacher?" And then he said, one who really wants to honor and respect and revere the teaching and the teacher, to celebrate this Buddha Dhamma, would practice the Eightfold Path. And that's the best way of honoring and revering, celebrating the Buddha and his teaching. So that was an entry point that crossed my mind, that to celebrate Buddhism in the best way, we take these themes, these central elements of the teaching, and make our best effort to bring these to life, to bring these into being. Now, today, here we are in the modern world. The time of the Buddha was very, very different. So, also reflecting on this theme, I thought it's relevant to consider the role of an ancient tradition in a modern world. Here we are wearing these robes. These robes were designed by the Venerable Ananda, the Buddha's attendant. He was the one who came up with the particular pattern of patches and stitching. And so this is probably the longest lasting fashion in the human world. And the world of the Buddhas was the world of ox carts. The weapons the armies used were bows and arrows, swords and spears. When you wanted entertainment, you had to hire some musicians, or you went to see some acrobats. That was your entertainment. Nowadays, many of us probably came here in vehicles guided by satellites. Certainly our monastery car was. Our cars are equipped with GPS. The weapons of war, they use pilotless planes that fly by themselves. Money at the time of the Buddha was gold and silver. Nowadays you can just wave your iPhone in front of a little light, and that will extract your funds from your bank account. And the whole world has changed so much. There's so many forms of distraction. Speaking of iPhones, I actually looked it up this morning and found out you can now find 350,000 applications, different applications to put on an iPhone, which is a staggering number of ways of distracting the mind. The avenues of entertainment, distraction, and information are enormous. So we can think, well, is the Buddha's teaching still relevant in a world that has changed so much, that is so different? But we don't have to look very far to see that the chemistry of wanting and the causes of conflict are still exactly the same today as they were in the time of the Buddha. That when it's I want what I haven't got, or I want what you've got, or I want to protect my things from other people who want to take them from me. I'm jealous of of the space that you've got, and I want to move into it, or you've offended me, so I want to hurt you. Whether it's dealing with the traffic on the M25, or whether it's the arguments between the Kosalans and the Magadhans. It's still the means, the manner of conflict, the mechanisms of desire, wanting what we haven't got, being irritated by the things that pain us. These work in very much the same way, I would suggest. The Buddha was called the doctor of the world, and so in this vein, just as in the time of the Buddha, a doctor such as Dr. Jivaka needed to specify the symptom of a disease. He needed to then work out what the cause was. You needed to work out the prognosis, whether the disease was curable, and then to work out, to prescribe what's the appropriate treatment for that. And I wonder, how many doctors do we have here today? Probably very, very many. So I would say that's probably a fair synopsis of how doctors operate in the current world, as they did in the time of the Buddha. So just as that means of making a diagnosis in the time of the Buddha is probably very close to the way that the medical profession works today. So similarly, that same format as applied, as it takes shape in the Four Noble Truths, that dukkha, the experience of dissatisfaction, that's the symptom, that's the spiritual malaise. Its cause, as the Buddha defined, was self-centered craving. The prognosis is fortunately that it's curable. The heart can be free of that quality of dissatisfaction, of discontent. And the cure that he prescribed was the Eightfold Path, or what can be summarized as virtue, mental training or concentration, and wisdom, sila, samadhi, and panya. So these are in a way, the best way that we can celebrate Buddhism, or I would suggest, is that we can bring these elements of the path, we can bring that cure into our life and apply that to heal our own hearts of the difficulties of dissatisfaction and discontent that we can all experience today. In a way that I would say that the Buddha's teaching is more relevant than ever, because the mechanisms of desire, speaking about iPhones and such like, many years ago I remember seeing an advertisement for American Express, and if any of you work for American Express, I'm not trying to single you out, but as a general principle of the way things are nowadays, I remember seeing an American Express advert that the slogan was, "Take the waiting out of wanting." Take the waiting out of wanting. So see it, want it, get it, is the ethic of the age in many ways. And so that no longer can we just have to pause or find the funds or wait till we get to the shop, but we can see something, desire it, and acquire it in the wink of an eye, the click of a button. So in a way, it's more important than ever that we take these resources that the Buddha offered in terms of developing virtue, generosity, developing the powers of meditation, and the development of wisdom. Now, one of the things that we can see is that in advice of living respectfully, living carefully, living in a way that is in accordance with the 5 precepts, as was just described or in the Pali ceremony, refraining from taking life, refraining from taking what is not given, refraining from sexual misconduct, refraining from lying and false speech, and refraining from intoxicants, these 5 precepts. These define a way that we can go against our habits of selfishness. We can develop a quality of kindness and harmony between ourselves and other beings. This is a very beautiful and an appropriate path. In particular, the aspect of meditation was the thing I thought to emphasize, bhavana, or the development of concentration and wisdom, because this is one of the greatest gifts that the Buddha offers us in this era where things do move so fast and are so convenient. We find ourselves more quickly stressed and burdened than ever before. And so mental peace is harder to find in the modern age, and the experience of stress and difficulty is very common. So this wonderful gift that the Buddha bestowed upon us, so the encouragement of learning how to be concentrated, learning to focus the mind, learning to be mindful, this is one of the most wonderful treasures, and applying that can be a way to not only improve our own life, but is also a way of blessing the lives of others. So it's interesting that now we have, in this modern age, the development of mindfulness as a skill, both encouraged in British schools, even prescribed by the NHS as treatment for depression and anxiety. And this is a wonderful resource that we have available. And maybe the last thing I'd like to say, or a way of understanding how mindfulness works, is many of us experience the mind as chattering away, endlessly commentating, desiring this, criticizing that, fretting about everything else. The mind in a state of agitation. And we often think of our mind as a single thing, but it can be more helpful to think of the mind as a committee, what I would call the inner committee. And so any of us who sat on committees, I'm probably organising this event, there were countless committee meetings, and there are many, many diverse voices going on in the committee. Similarly in our minds, many diverse voices. So the role of mindfulness and wisdom is to be the chair of that committee. So if we wish to take the Buddha's advice to help guide our lives towards peacefulness, towards happiness, towards harmonization with each other, if we really want to celebrate the Buddha's presence and his teaching in the world, then I would encourage that learning the skill for all of us to learn how to put mindfulness and wisdom in the chair, to let that be the chair of the committee. So then all the diverse voices around the table, the one that's complaining, the one that's being very sensible and theoretical, the one that's being the wailing 3-year-old, the one that's being the pig-headed radical, that they can all be listened to, can all be appreciated, and can all be coordinated by the skillful chair. And when we allow that quality of mindfulness and wisdom to be the central feature, the central conductor of our inner committee, our inner orchestra, then harmony is what will ensue. So these are my few words today, and I'm very honored to be able to share these with you, and whatever is useful, please take it and keep it, and whatever is not useful, please leave it aside.
We are a group of devotees and supporters of London Buddhist Vihara who, along with some of the children attending Sunday Dhamma school, have chosen to sing a devotional song to commemorate the sacred and the thrice blessed day of Vesak, the birth, the enlightenment, and the passing away. Although we are gathered here today to celebrate the 2600th anniversary of the enlightenment of the Buddha, we felt that it would be quite apt to remind everyone present here the significance of Vesak in the form of this devotional song sung in 3 verses. The birth of Gautama Siddhartha was greeted by the deities bowing in reverence. The flowers on trees were in full bloom, and the birds were singing and whistling happy tunes. We are familiar with the proclamation of Gautama Siddhartha as he trod on the 7 lotuses, Aggo hamasmi lokasa, setto hamasmi lokasa, that he will be the ruler of the worlds and will bring to an end the repeated cycle of being reborn over and over again. When Gautama Siddhartha attained enlightenment under the sacred Bodhi tree, with resolute determination, overcoming greed and ignorance, and defeating evil forces of the Mara, the flowers were once again in full bloom, with the birds tweeting away happy, whilst the deities were in absolute awe. But on the day of his passing away, the trees which were in full bloom had withered. The birds were no longer singing happy tunes, and the deities were sounding mournful, reminding us of the impermanence of life on this sorrowful day.
pleasure to invite on stage the London Fo Guang Shan Dun Huang dancers, who are going to do a banner dance. Now, all of these dances are based on pictures that were found in the painted caves of Dun Huang, investigated by Aurel Stein, who brought back a lot of scriptures and also took photos of the paintings. Dun Huang is at the start of the Silk Road, and there was a vast monastery complex there, and amongst the paintings on the walls were paintings of heavenly dancers showing homage to the Buddha and the Dhamma. And it's based on one of these heavenly dances, the banner dance, that the choreography was designed for the dance we're about to see now. Ladies and gentlemen, the London Fo Guang Shan Dun Huang dancers. remember there's a scripture in the a passage in the Pali scriptures where the Buddha is talking to his disciples, and far off they see all the Lichavi princes coming with their long sleeves flapping, and they were multicolored, and the Buddha turned to his disciples and said, people are always coming and asking us what it is like in the Deva realms, in the heavenly realms. Take a look at that lot and you'll be able to tell them. Well, we don't have Lichavi princes, but we do have the Dunhuang dancers, and now you know as well what it is like in the Deva realms. We have 2 speakers now. This was a carefully crafted program where we began from the past and we moved towards the future. It's not quite working like that, but at the mid place we have the present. Distinguished Roshi Shinzan Miyamae, who is a Japanese Zen master in the Rinzai tradition, who was born in 1935 in Niigata, Japan. He graduated with a degree in economics and later ordained at the age of 31 when he found that the economics was not quite working as he wished. After completing his koan study, Shinzan Roshi visited every Zen master in Japan, seeking to test and deepen his insight. He has been openly critical of the institutionalization and routinization of much of modern Zen, and therefore is a man after my own heart. So here we have another. He has taught much in the Americas and in Europe, is the author of 2 books in Japanese, and is on a teaching tour in Britain now. Roshi-san.
皆さんこんにちは。
Good afternoon, everybody.
今日の釈尊誕生2600年のめでたい、日に、私が、皆様に、釈尊になり変わりまして、釈尊のなさった修行の一端をですね、ちょっとお話しさせていただきたいと思います。
On commemoration of the Buddha's enlightenment of 2600 years, today I'd like to say on behalf of Shakyamuni himself about his trainings.
釈尊は天上天下唯我独尊とおっしゃいました。Only one me, one person in the whole universe. 天上天下唯我独尊、ただ一人とおっしゃった。He said only one person in the under the heaven. He said so. 私はこの同じ体験をしなければならないという教えを受けて修行してまいりました。
The Buddha himself said, in the entire universe, I'm the alone, only one. And following these teachings, I trained very hard.
これは決して難しいことではありません。
It is not such a very difficult thing to achieve.
どなたも必ずできることなんですね。
It's possible for everybody to achieve this.
どういうことかと言いますと、一人静かに座ってまして、
What it means is sit just alone oneself.
そして、気がつかねばなりません。
And come to understanding.
ある時にこの人間のですね、普段考えている考えが止まることがあります。
At one time during training, there's a moment where our thinking activities stops.
この時に気がつかなければならないのは天上天外唯我独尊です。
And that time, what we should realize is that in this entire world, I'm the only one.
この時には人間のですね、あらゆる知識というのは消えております。
When that happens, our humans, all knowledge disappears.
そこで気がつかなければなりません。
And there we should realize
これが本来のこの面目、本来のネイチャーであると。
This is the one which is inherent to all of us.
お釈迦様はこのことに気がつかれたんであろうということを悟らなければなりません。
We all should realize that this is the one which the Buddha himself had realized.
In short, この時には、一切のこの好きだ嫌いだ良い悪いという人間の知恵は消えております。
In short, this moment when you realized our humans likes, dislikes, and all the rest of duality disappears.
赤ちゃんはその通りです。
The babies are just like that.
しかし大人が人間の知恵を教え込むからこの皆さんのような盲の知りと物知りになるんですね。
But when we grow up, we accumulate this information and become human wisdom. It's information wisdom.
もし人間の知恵をこのストップさせたら良いも悪いもないと、好きも嫌いもないと、生きる死ぬもないということになります。
So if we manage to get rid of this desire, human information, then we come to realization that we reach the stage where there's no dualities at all, no likes, dislikes, big, small.
この時に、お釈迦さんの悟りはこれだったと言って深くうなずかなければなりません。
So that moment we should deeply recognize, yes, this must be the one which Buddha himself experienced.
この2600年の記念日に私たちは本当にこのことに気づかねばならない時が来ています。
In memory of this Buddhist experience, enlightenment of 2600 years, which is today, we should realize this fact.
なぜかといえば人類のやっていることはどうでしょうか。この環境の汚染、争い、いつまでこの人と人、国と国、思想と思想、この争いがなぜ止まらないんですか。
If we look at present moment, people fight each other and polluting the earth and all the rest of this, all these problems, why they have not stopped?
全部人知で考えているからです。人知、人の知恵で。
Because we are all thinking using our human knowledge.
We have to have two wisdom. 一つは人間の知恵、これ必要です。
We have to have two wisdom, two kinds of wisdoms. One is human-based wisdom.
この他にブッダの知恵が必要です。
The other one is wisdom of Buddha.
全部一瞬にして断ち切る。
Buddha's wisdom is cut off all the dualities.
そう、no good, no bad, no this, no
There's no good, no bad, fair, no fair, this kind of dualities.
今日このめでたい記念日に本当にお釈迦様は私たちの親父だと思います。
In this
Father.
very happy days, we should realize that Buddha is our father.
2600年経って人類はまだこのことに気づきません。
After 600 years,
ここに集られた方々は皆気づいてください。
Human beings have not realized this, and we hope people, everybody in this room, realize this.
2つの知恵を持ちましょ
う。We need two wisdoms.
1つは普通の当たり前のこの分ける知恵です。良い悪い好き嫌い。
One is ordinary wisdom, which is based on duality.
Another big wisdom. 分けくてきれい汚いはないと。
The other wisdom is there is no dualities. There is no clean, dirty, beautiful or uglies.
私の申し上げたことは仏教史、仏教学の結論として間違ってないということをこれから申し上げます。
What I have been saying is in accordance with Buddhist doctrine. I'm going to explain that from now.
ハートスートラの、般若の知恵というのはどういうことでしょう。般若ウィズダム。になります。
This idea, thinking, became two types of philosophy between year 200 and 500.
一つはすべてのものは実体がないと。
One is everything has no existence or solidities.
この宇宙でさえもなくなっていくんだと。あるのではないと。
Even in the universe itself is not solid. It's always temporary.
あらゆるもの、あらゆる存在はすべてあると見えるがなくなっていくのです。
Everything seems to be solid and permanent, but they are not. They are moving and changing.
実体はないのです。
There's no permanent existence.
もう一つのウィズダム。
The other type of wisdom.
すべては人間の心が作る。
Everything is created by human heart.
ここに数百人の方がおられますが、一人一人の思いが違うじゃないですか。
There are few hundred people in these rooms, and each one of has got different ideas.
全部この方が自分が正しいと思っていらっしゃいます。
And every one of us believe that I'm the one who is right ones.
間違いです。
That is not right.
釈尊の偉大なる偉大なる知恵を私たちは受け継いで、これからの社会に広めていく重大な使命を背負っていると思います。
We should experience and realize and understand Buddha's teachings, and by using this, we contribute to the society.
釈尊の偉大なる高音、大きい音に報いるために釈尊になり変わりまして、皆さんにお伝えして私のお話をこれで終わることにさせていただきます。
By stressing the importance and following the Buddha's teachings, I conclude today's talks. Thank you.
Chair of the Buddhist Society, the editor of its journal, Dr. Desmond Biddulph. Dr. Biddulph is going to speak about the social aspects of Buddhism in the present.
But first of all, I'd like to say thank you, and that is to the organizing committee, because I've been somewhat involved with them through the Buddhist Society. And I know the enormous work that's gone into this. You wouldn't believe. Thousands of emails, hundreds of meetings, sweat, blood, tears, the whole lot. Anyway, it's wonderful to see it's all come together so beautifully. So very, very big thank you to them. And secondly, I would also like to say how fortunate I feel we all are actually to be in a country, where we are able as a minority faith to be able to come together like this. And for this we have to thank largely the Christian tradition. Although we live in a secular state, it's the Christian tradition in a way which has provided this state and enabled this spirit of tolerance and comfortable being with each other that allows the minority faith. So we need also to thank and support the core values that have been cultivated and propagated by the Anglican tradition here. So having said that, I'll get on a little bit and talk something about how it is that we're all here. But first of all, I would say that on this extremely special day, the Buddha rediscovered an ancient way to an ancient city. And that ancient way is not a path that lies outside ourselves, it's one which is inside. It's inside in the nerves, the muscles, the pumping of the heart, the arteries, and all the little connections that go inside this ball up here, this head. It's already there, it's already laid out, but it simply needs to be rediscovered, to be opened up, so that we can live that life. And that's really what the Buddha did. He rediscovered that particular way. But just on the outside, to think about how it is that we're all here in this country. Well, to go back a little bit, and I suppose largely for us Englishmen, like myself, English men and women, we have to go to the colonial past. And one of the great fruits of the colonial past, of course, is it brought religions and faiths to this country which otherwise wouldn't have had the chance to come here. And I suppose the first date, really, would be the publishing of the Light of Asia by Sir Edwin Arnold in 1879. And that really brought the attention largely to the general population. He was at that time the editor of the Daily Telegraph. And so he brought to the British population some understanding of what really the Buddha was about. And those of you who've looked at the Light of Asia, some of you may have read it. It's very touching and moving in many parts of it, and actually gets the spirit of the Buddha very well. We also have to thank the Theosophists, and here we can also go back to people like Alcott. And Alcott had a very significant role, and he went to Sri Lanka, if you remember, and was somewhat involved with the revival of Sri Lankan Buddhism. He was a very important figure. He helped revive Buddhism in Sri Lanka, and around which the nationalist movement started, and so on. And then another one was Ananda Guruge Dhammapala, who is an extremely important figure, and it was really he who went and found the Mahabodhi temple, found it in a frightful state of disrepair, and he made enormous efforts to clean it up, and now it's it's become part of the World Heritage Site. It's now part of a real place where people can go and visit and actually see that diamond seat upon which the Buddha sat, in which he was enlightened. And a marvelous thing. And Dhammapala himself devoted his entire life to taking Buddhism to the West, and it's really, I suppose, partly the reason why we're here today, because of course, its connection with the Chiswick Vihara, London Vihara. So we have so many people to thank. The Buddhist Society itself was founded in 1924, and at that time, Buddhism was not actually considered a religion, and we tried to establish it as a religion because it was to be a religious charity. And what actually happened was, when the charity commissioners looked at it, they said, well, I don't think Buddhism is really a religion at all. It's a philosophy. And it took Christmas Humphreys to go all the way to the House of Lords. At that time, I think it was in the Supreme Court, or the highest court in the land, to actually establish the fact that Buddhism was indeed a religion. And it wasn't shortly after that, in 1926, that the London Buddhist Vihara was founded, and has been with us ever since. And to go back to those early days, it's people like the Rhys Davids and all those English Buddhists who took the time and devoted their lives to the translation of all the sutras and so on, and I think really brought something of incredible value to the national life of us British people. And I think this is really the crucial thing, actually, is that the Buddha Dharma contributes enormously to the life of our country. In 1950, the Chinese invasion came along, and we had the diaspora from all the Tibetans came over, and they initially had their society in the basement of the Buddhist Society before they went out and founded their own monasteries and so on. The Dalai Lama followed in 1959, and then going back a little before that, the English Sangha Trust was founded in 1955. But since then we've been increasing and increasing and increasing, and in fact we're now, I think about, I think in the last census about 155,000, getting on for actually 200,000 Buddhists, I think, in this country, but I think at this census it'll be increased. And what I would like to say also is that the work that we do is in order to get Buddhism known, is through chaplaincy and through sakra. Through chaplaincy, there is the prison chaplaincy, and we know that was started by Kema Dhamma, who's done the most enormous work in allowing prisoners to have contact with the Buddha Dharma, and has made a tremendous difference in prisons to improving the spiritual life of prisoners. And then that was started in 1985. In 2005, the armed forces got their first Buddhist chaplain, and that's been an extraordinary move. It comes from the recognition, really, of Buddhism as a religion in this country. And I should say that Dr. Karawana has done an enormously good job in developing that side of things, and he's also gone on to form chaplaincy movement, and this will go into the NHS, into hospitals, hopefully it will go into schools, it will go into all sorts of areas, into the fire service, the police, and so on, and bring the Buddha Dharma there. I should also say that Sakra has played an immense part too. There's a standing advisory committee on religious education, and each local authority is obliged to have one of these, and it's made up essentially of 4 bits, one of which is multi-faith. And this actually works for the RE syllabus, and in this is where Buddhism is actually taught in schools. And we haven't got a lot of time, but what I would say is that if education is really to do with understanding complex issues, then Buddhism, and truly understanding complex issues and being able to make proper decisions, which is something we really truly need to do, then Buddhism plays a great part in this. Because every parent, for instance, has the most enormous difficulty making decisions. For instance, where do you send your children to school? It's mind-boggling, isn't it? All the choices. Well, the thing is, and it's not just that, it's almost everything we do. Life is so complex. Well, we can put all the facts in front of us and spread them all out, and then we've got to decide actually to make a decision. And if that decision is influenced or biased by one of the passions, because I want it this way, I want it that way, it'll be the wrong decision. We have to have the capacity to make decisions impartially, not just in our own lives, because it affects those around us so intimately, but also in a much greater and wider field. It's also all those people who have positions of responsibility who influence our national life. It's the politicians, it's the lawyers, it's the judges. All these people need to be able to make impartial decisions. They need to be able to weigh up the facts, to look at things coldly and cleanly, with an open heart, with an open and warm heart, and then make the right decision. This is difficult. But this is something that Buddhism can do. That Buddhism found an ancient path to an ancient city. But not only that, he also taught us the way in which we can get there, the step-by-step progression on that path, so that we too can find that place of absolute rest, and that true space, which is actually the heart's desire and the heart's fulfillment. And all those who want to contribute to the life of the Buddha Dharma in this country will find ample room to do so. Plenty of places where you can contribute to letting others know and helping others find that place. Well, I think I'll just conclude on that point.
Thank you very much, Desmond Biddulph. We now have another religious dance for you. This is going to be performed by Miss Bimala Maharajan of the Lumbini Nepalese Buddhist Society, and it's the Bodhisattva dance of Manjushri. We now come to the key speaker, the keynote speaker of this afternoon's celebration. And that is Dr. Ananda Guruge, of Sri Lankan origin, but I believe now a Californian resident. When I looked him up on Wikipedia, well, if I read all of that, you'd still be here by the time his speech was supposed to be finished. But he's director of the International Academy of Buddhism, the University of the West in Los Angeles, and the editor of its Silai Journal of Humanistic Buddhism. He originally graduated from the University of Ceylon in Sanskrit studies in 1947 and gained his PhD from London University. He has had a distinguished career, first as a civil servant, then as a diplomat, including at the United Nations. Then he went into academia. He's the author of 50 books, but I'm pleased to say some of those are novels. And these books are in English and in Sinhala. He's also the author of 175 research papers. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Guruge.
Venerable members of the Sangha, His Excellency the Acting High Commissioner, I worship the Mayor of Hammersmith. It's a great pleasure for me to be here today. So let me begin by thanking those who arranged to bring me here. First of all, my respectful thanks go to Venerable Bogoda Silvibela, then to Venerable Amaro, and last but not the least, to my friend Dr. Desmond Biddulph, and through them to the three organizations that are responsible for the day's event. The London Buddhist Vihara, the London Buddhist Society, or before that I should say the English Sangha Trust. I looked at the program and I asked myself, how is it that I have been asked to talk about celebrating the future? Then I read the article that I had already written in the program that you have in front of you, and I have called this day the 2600th birthday of Buddhism. And in that article, I have wished Buddhism a happy 2600th birthday. Venerable Sila Vimala, for example, I thought he realized that I did not wish Buddhism many happy returns. So, the speech today is to wish Buddhism many happy returns on this very auspicious 2600th birthday of Buddhism. How is it the birthday? Because Buddhism began the day the Buddha was enlightened. And Buddha found for us a path of deliverance. He found an end to suffering and preached to the world an end to suffering which the world has found useful, relevant, and of immense value for 2600 years. But that's not all that the Buddha did. Buddha also taught us many things over a 45-year period which helps us in our daily life. You know, we have a reference to the Buddha's Dhamma as akalika. Many people give different interpretations for akalika. Some even mix up the Sandhitika and akalika together as the two qualifications or 2 descriptions of the Dhamma. And I take Akalika means it is timeless. And somebody asked me, what do you mean by timeless? In fact, I was asked in Bangkok 2 years ago at the 96th birthday of the Sagaraja Thera. And I said, it has no expiry date. Yeah. You take a can of milk, there's an expiry date. You buy a cake from the supermarket, there's an expiry date. But Akalika means Buddhism has no expiry date. If it had, it would have disappeared. But the fact that we are today 9 to 10,000 miles away from where the Buddha was born, under a tree in a forest grove, and where he preached his greatest of findings just to 5 people, and that too under a tree. And we are in this great country, the capital of a great country, and we find that Buddhism is relevant to us today, and I am going to tell you it's going to be relevant for many thousand years to come. The relevance of Buddhism comes because of the fact that what the Buddha preached is becoming more and more relevant to us as our knowledge, science, technology, the meaning of life, the very horizons of knowledge keep on expanding. We are in a better position to understand and appreciate the relevance of this message. That is what is most important when we talk about Buddhism. You would ask me, what are those things that are going to be relevant? One most important thing is the Buddha wanted us to think. He never came before the people and said, here is my message, I brought it for you, now you have to do like this. No. All that the Buddha said, don't believe what is in the book. Don't believe what comes to you by tradition or by rumor, by hearsay. Don't take something merely because it is in your family, you accept it, you come down from your grandparents to your parents and so on. Think and ask yourself the vital question, will this be for the benefit and the good of the many? Even there, see the wisdom of the Buddha. He didn't say all. We know that we cannot please all. But the many certainly. And say, Bahujana Hitaya, Bahujana Sukhaya. The word Bahu is used just for the majority. Because there will be all peace people who may not be able to agree with us. And the Buddha never worried about it. And this appeal to intellect and the recognition of the critical ability of the human being is the greatest of virtues that Buddhism has. We are a very science-friendly religion. I call it a religion because we identify ourselves as Buddhists. When we have that little column in the census report, we write our name as Buddhist against the religion. So, without going into the philosophical, whether it's a philosophy, whether it's a way of life, or whatever you call it, it's a great spiritual and cultural heritage. What do we expect in the future? Before I go to the future, let me take 1 minute to express my deepest gratitude to Great Britain, the this country where we are teaching. The Buddhism is in the world today because we learned English and we were able to bring our message through that language. And whatever you talk about colonialism, we have many reasons to talk about different aspects of colonialism. But if the British were not in our part of the world, Buddhism would have taken a much longer time to be known in the world. In 1879, the only way that anybody in the world could have known who the Buddha was and what the Buddha has to give humanity was through one beautiful poem written by Sir Edwin Arnold, The Light of Asia. 1879. The Polytech Society was 2 years later, and without the London Polytech Society, no Buddhist research would have been done anywhere in the world. And no Buddhist scholar, even today, all my PhD students, they have to go to the PTS edition of the Tripitaka, which is the most authoritative, authentic, accurate, published work of the entire Tripitaka. So, we have to recognize that this great country, with scholars like Rhys Davids, Robert Childers, Reinhold Rost, and many more who followed, more recently friends like Russell Webb, have made a tremendous contribution. And we ourselves, from the Buddhist world, have been able to express our admiration and appreciation and an understanding of Buddhism because we have access to a great world language like English and several other world languages. The future of Buddhism will therefore depend very heavily on the extent to which we can use our modern communication skills, communication technology to bring the message through world languages to the rest of the world. But are they prepared to listen? Are they prepared to look upon Buddhism as something relevant to their lives? This is one of the most interesting discoveries that I have made over my 50 years of odyssey in the world. It makes no difference where you are, but the intelligent people of the country, the intellects, they really recognize a knowledge of the Buddha and knowledge of Buddhism as an essential part of their cultural literacy. You would say a person culturally illiterate if he doesn't know who Buddha is or some aspects of Buddha's teachings. In USA, where I live now, we have a large number of temples. The first dance was performed by Pokwan Chan. Pokwan Chan has a major temple in practically every major city in USA and rest of the world. Master Shin Yun has more than 200 great temples which are great cultural centers. And from this I know that we have not only a large number of people who are embracing Buddhism as their personal religion. They accept it as say, we find that this is more relevant to us for our lives today. But a larger number of people are coming to benefit from Buddhism by choosing that aspect of Buddhism which appeals to them. In one of my writings I say, looking at the American situation, that Buddhism has become like a mall, or what you call here a shopping center. You go to a shopping center, you don't buy everything from just one place. You have many shops. You want to buy some dresses, you go to one. You want to buy shoes, you go to another, and so on. The people are coming to Buddhism because Buddhism has a large menu. In fact, another simile is that Buddhism is like a restaurant with an enormous menu. There are things that you like to do, and Buddhism gives you to do. There are people who come and say, oh, I like to come at 4 o'clock in the morning, sit with the monks and the nuns, and chant. Chant the Heart Sutra. Very soothing. It's tremendous experience. And that's what they want. Others come for meditation. Others come to study. Others come to discuss. There are people who have chosen various aspects of Buddhism which appeal to their immediate requirements. If you go to a Pure Land Buddhist temple, they would say, oh, all you have to do is keep on saying Namo Amita Pho, Namo Amita Butsu, or Namo Amita Pat in different languages. And that worship of Amitabha is a kind of meditation for them. There are others who would use the Japanese. They would worship the Lotus Sutra, which is Saddharma Pundarika, a wonderful Sanskrit book. So we see that Buddhism caters for our different needs, and a large majority of people are prepared to go in search of Buddhism for that. And the Buddhism is not in conflict with any aspect of our lives. If you want to know, Buddhism is one major religious system which in no way romanticizes poverty. Buddha supported the wealthy people. He had nice thing to say about wealth. Buddha says, if you are wealthy, you have 4 kinds of happiness. You have the happiness of having the possession. You know, we have the nursery rhyme about the king counting his money. So there are people who like to have the money, they count the money, and that's an happiness, and that is the Ati Sukha I have. Bhoga Sukha is use that money, share it, use it for charity, enjoy yourself, consume. And again, the Buddha was an economist. If you ask Merrill Lynch, the financial advisor, he gives you exactly what the Buddha said, Sigala, 2,600 years ago. He said, divide your money into 4 parts, your income. Consume 1/4, 25%. Invest 50%. And don't put all your money into shares, because investment. Have 25% in the bonds and savings. Exact words that the financial advisor tells you, you pay for it. But the Buddha said it and told us free. And that is bhoga, that is consuming. And the third thing he said was, if your money, you don't run into credit card debts. Freedom of debt, freedom from debt is a happiness. And Buddha was a great moralist. And he saw the value of money. When you have money, you don't do the wrong things. You don't have to do the wrong things. You don't have to steal, you don't have to cheat, you don't have to do... And this is the kind of relevance that Buddha's teachings have. I can take item by item different aspects of Buddha's teachings and tell you that is the reason why we will have Buddhism always forever. I forgot to tell Mr. Lovelock, he can come and shake my sleeves when I overstep this time. But I have one last point. Buddhism is the most tolerant, accommodating, understanding of all spiritual and cultural heritages that we have. Give me a minute to tell a story. There were 4 men who were in the rain. They were getting wet. And the lady of the house nearest went there and said, "Come in, I'll give you some tea. You'll be warm inside my house." And they said, "No, sorry. We don't come into a house where there's only a lady." Good moral, you know. Husband comes with the children, and then the husband goes and tells the man, "Please come into our house." He said, "Yes, we come into our house, but that depends on whom you invite. I am Mr. Wealth. This is Mr. Success. This is Mr. Peace. And this is Mr. Harmony. You invite whomever you want, and we will decide who comes in." So the father goes and tells, "What we want is money, wealth. So let us ask Mr. Wealth to come in." Then the son says, "No, father, money is secondary. We want success. If you have success, money comes automatically." And the father and the son start an argument. And when the argument starts, the wife puts her hands on the head and say, "Come on, stop it. I want peace in this house." And the little girl starts crying and says, "There was so much of harmony till these 4 people came. Go and call Harmony." So they went and said, "Mr. Harmony, my daughter wants you to come in. Oh, if you want harmony, we all come. Because with harmony comes peace, with peace comes success, and with success comes wealth." Thank you very much.
What we have now is the Glorious Life Chorus. It's part of a kind of nationwide chorus. Wherever Soka Gakkai International is, there's a small branch of them. What they're going to be singing is a lyric called "Life is a Voyage." The words are based on a poem written by the head of Soka Gakkai, Daisaku Ikeda. And they practice a Japanese form of Buddhism based on the teachings of the 13th century monk, Nichiren Daishonin. The conductor is Kija Samuels. This was set to music by Howard Jones and his brother Roy. I know from experience that you're going to have a marvellous time listening to this. And I now turn it over to Howard Jones and Kija and the Glorious Life Chorus.
noble silence is a part of Buddhist practice with some good thoughts. I would like to ask Ajahn Sundara to conduct a 2 minutes meditation on loving kindness.
So, it's a real trying time for me. I'm like Ajahn Amaro, you know, I'm not somebody who does things in a very short time. 2 minutes. Let's get ready. So, sit upright with your back comfortable. Make sure your spine is relaxed, your shoulders are relaxed. Close your eyes gently and bring your attention inwardly. Breathing normally. Let your attention come inwardly. Notice how you're feeling right now. Many things have happened. There's been a lot of sensory input, a lot of energy. Some of them are exciting, some of them more calming, so a lot of diverse sensory experiences. Breathing normally, gently, naturally. Notice in your body how you're feeling right now. And as you breathe in, add a very gentle sentence. May I be well. And as you breathe out, and at peace. Like a soothing thought. A kind, compassionate thought. Breathing in, may I be well. Breathing out, and at peace. Letting all your burden, all your trouble, being breathed out on the out breath. Breathing in, may I be well. And breathing out, and at peace. Letting the energy of these kind thoughts reverberate in your whole mind and body. And since it's a rather short metta meditation, we can now breathe in. May all beings be at peace. All beings be well, and breathing out and at peace. So we can bring into our mind all sentient beings, and wish on the in-breath, you wish them to be well, the state of well-being, and on the out-breath, and at peace. Where we can let go of the past and the future and just rest in the present, in the peace of now. No matter what is going on, just resting in the peace. May all being be well on the in-breath and on the out-breath, and at peace. From the bottom of our heart, really wishing this with kindness, love, deep wish that all beings be well and at peace. And we can just rest. You can stop saying anything, you can continue if you wish, or you can just rest in the in the space that's been caused in this very moment, just this moment now. You can let go of all thoughts and just be present in the here and now. Letting your mind relax, your attention be open and bright, as if there was no past and no future, just here and now, letting the world end. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear devotees, monks from different nationalities going to chant benedictory discourses, invoking blessing not only you but all the human beings in this world, as well as all the visible and invisible beings in this world. So all these monks are going to chant from now.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Karaniya matta kusalena yang tang sang tang padang abhisamit Sakko ujuca sujuca suaco cassa mudu anatimani Santossa koca subharoca appakiccoca sallahu kavutti Riyoca nipakoca appagabbo kulesu ananugin Naca kuddang samacare kinciyena vinyu pare upamadeyung No akemi no hantu sabbe satta bhavantu sukhitat Ye cipana bhutatti tasavatavarava anavasesat Vaye mahantava majjimarassa kanukatula dittava eva Ye ca dure vasanti avidure bhutava sambhave siva sabbe Sukhitattan paro parang nikubbeta nati manyeta katta cinangkan Vyarosana patiga sanyana manyassa dukkha micce Mata niyang puttang ayusa eka putta manurakke Vampi sabba Manasam bhavaye aparimanang mettanca sabba lokasming manasam Aparimanang uddhang adoca tiriyang ca asambadang averang asapattang tittang carang nisinno asayano Vigatamiddo etang sating aditteya brahmametang viharang idamao dittinca anupagam silavadassanena sam Kamesu vinaya gedang nahi jatu gabbaseyang punareti
I would like to invite Venerable Nagasi to do a Japanese chanting.
Venerable members of the Sangha, distinguished guests, friends. My name is Arosha Bandara, and it has been my honor to serve as the secretary to the organizing committee of the 2600th Sambuddha Jayanthi celebrations in the UK. On behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to bring this wonderful event to a close by taking a few minutes to express our gratitude to all those who made this event possible. First and foremost, we have been reminded today that this celebration itself is an expression of gratitude and homage from the Buddhist community in the United Kingdom to the Lord Buddha for his incomparable compassion when he gained enlightenment 2,600 years ago and decided to teach the Dhamma to the world. For helping us reflect on the impact of the Buddha's teachings, we would like to thank our speakers, Ajahn Amaro, Shinzan Miyamae Roshi, Dr. Desmond Biddulph, and Dr. Ananda Guruge for their informative and insightful talks. We would also like to thank the members of the Sangha who have led us in meditation today and chanted blessings over us. We are also grateful to the dancers from the Lumbini Nepalese Buddhist Society in the UK and the London Folk Guangshan for their graceful performances. Similarly, the devotion and energy with which the London Buddhist Vihara Children's Dhamma School Choir and the Glorious Life Chorus performed were truly uplifting. So thank you to everyone involved for those beautiful performances. Our thanks also go to Jan Lovelock for being our Master of Ceremonies today. The celebration we have enjoyed today is the culmination of almost a year of preparation and could not have been done without the help and cooperation of many Buddhist organizations and individuals across the United Kingdom. On behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to express our sincere gratitude to everyone who provided assistance, be it through donating their time or giving their money, to make this event possible. Many of you would have bought a program of the event today, and hopefully you agree that this beautiful publication is an excellent commemorative souvenir of this event. We're very grateful to all those who made the production of this program possible, whether as designers, financial supporters, or contributors. And we would also like to thank all of you here today who have brought a souvenir. And if you haven't got a souvenir, either for yourself or as a gift for somebody who couldn't be here today, you'll still have a chance to get one from the lobby on your way home this evening. Personally, I would like to thank everyone on the organizing committee for their dedication to this endeavor. In particular, Venerable Sila Vimala, the head of the London Buddhist Vihara and president of the Sri Lankan Sangha Sabha, for chairing the committee and inspiring us to make this event a success. We are also grateful to all members of the Sangha and lay Buddhist organizations who took on responsibilities for various aspects of the organization and helped make it truly a celebration involving Buddhists from across the United Kingdom. Finally, we would like to express our thanks and gratitude to all our distinguished guests, Your Worship the Mayor, Your Excellency the Acting High Commissioner for Sri Lanka, and our speakers and members of Sangha, and yourself, for being present here today, for making the time to come and join in this celebration. The 2600th Sambuddha Jayanthi is a wonderful opportunity for all Buddhists to come together and share our gratitude to the Buddha. And it is wonderful that you could all take part in this event. Thank you very much.
Thank you.